Good morning, class 6. Students, in our last online class, we have started chapter 11, the Gupta Empire. And today we will continue from page number 93. And here, at first, I will tell you about Samudragupta's expedition to the Deccan. So, let's start. Samudragupta reached to the Pallava capital Kanchi for his expedition. Here, the Pallava king realized that he could not be able to face Samudragupta alone. That's why he formed a powerful confederacy. Confederacy means he formed a group of southern kings under his leadership to face Samudragupta's challenge. Okay, Samudragupta defeated this powerful confederacy. But he did not annex these southern territories because he realized that staying in north, it would not be easier for him to control such a vast empire in the south. Okay, because of the absence of proper transport and communication facilities. Then the rulers of the south accepted Samudragupta as their overlord, and they started paying tribute to him. Now, without any fight, the frontier states of eastern and western India were also submitted to Samudragupta, because the ruler of these states feared the power and military excellence of Samudragupta. These rulers also accepted Samudragupta as their overlord and paid large sums of money as their tribute to Samudragupta. Samudragupta celebrated his victory by performing the Ashwamedha Yajna. Like his father Chandragupta I, Samudragupta also took the title of Maharaja Dhiraja. Samudragupta was a great military genius, of course, but in spite of that, he was a talented musician and a poet. He encouraged Sanskrit literature, and some of the great scholars like Harisena was patronized in the court of Samudragupta. Now, let's talk about Chandragupta II. Chandragupta II was also known as Chandragupta Vikramaditya. He was the son of Samudragupta. Like his father, he was also a very powerful ruler of the Gupta Empire. During his reign, the Gupta Empire reached the height of its power and glory. To strengthen his position, Chandragupta II followed the policy of matrimonial alliances. He married the daughter of a powerful Naga ruler. He also gave his daughter in marriage to the Vakataka ruler in the Deccan. And from the Vakataka ruler, he got valuable help during his campaign against the Saka dynasty. Chandragupta II defeated the Saka ruler, and he extended the western boundaries of the Gupta Empire to the Arabian Sea. This was a very important victory for Chandragupta II. This victory led to economic growth and prosperity because it gave the Guptas control over the three great seaports on the western coast. Vikramaditya was a great patron of art and literature. The Navaratnas, or 9 gems, including Kalidasa, who was the great Sanskrit poet and dramatist, are associated with the reign of Vikramaditya. During his reign, the Chinese scholar Fa Hien visited India. He wrote an account during the reign of Chandragupta Vikramaditya, and this account is a rich source of information on the Indian way of life during the Gupta period. Now, my students, let's talk about the later Guptas. Kumaragupta succeeded his father Vikramaditya, and he maintained peace and prosperity in the Gupta Empire. Next, his successor, means his son Skandagupta, defeated and drove out the barbaric tribe Huns, who invaded India. Skandagupta's successors were very weak, and they could not protect the empire from the repeated invasions of the Huns. By the beginning of the 6th century CE, the Huns had destroyed the Gupta Empire and shattered the political unity of India. After the downfall of the Gupta Empire, numerous small kingdoms were emerged in the middle of the 6th century CE. and these small kingdoms were constantly at war with one another. Then the Huns continued their raids in northern India. In the beginning of the 7th century CE, Harshavardhana, the king of Thaneshwar, succeeded in bringing all these kingdoms under his own control. Then he established political unity, peace, and prosperity in northern India.